Welcome to this week's Under the Golden Dome. As you can see, I'm not actually under the Golden Dome. Yesterday, Thursday, March 21st, was quite the day, and we decided to delay taping this until Friday because of all the activity that was happening. If you're following along, this week was a little bit like whiplash. On Monday, the Senate passed their version of AEA reform. Basically, they took the House bill, struck everything, and inserted their bill, sent it over to the House. On Tuesday, our best understanding was the House was going to reject the Senate amendment and basically say we're at an impasse. And by Wednesday morning, we had a supposed deal between Senator Whitver, Speaker Grassley, and Governor Reynolds. And on Thursday, we passed out of the House a amended version. It was, again, a completely new version of the AEA reform bill that was the agreed upon concepts. Overall, they probably maintained the one thing that was the most important to us, which was continuity of special education services and making sure that those were still provided through the AEA. But because things happen very quickly and there's not a lot of time for eyeballs to look at the amendment, there's certainly going to be some road bumps and some problems. I will say that on Thursday, as we stood around the Capitol waiting for something to happen, asked several Republicans for, do we have the amendment language? And they handed us a list of bullet points. And I said, well, bullet points aren't amendment language and words matter. But at the end of the day, they did pass it on they passed it with 51 Republicans. There continue to be Republicans who are opposed to it. The bill then is going to pop back over to the Senate, whose only choice at this point, because it's what we call a bouncing bill, their only choice is to vote this amendment up or down. Now, we know that the Senate Republicans caucused on the supposed deal on Wednesday, and they raised a lot of concerns, and no big surprise in terms of what was in there. There were senators who felt that the reforms for the AEA didn't go far enough, but I think the overriding concern was the fact that the agreement added SSA at 2.5%, as well as the governor's original teacher compensation package, which is about $86 million, according to House Republicans. And Senate Republicans aren't enthused about spending $187 million in new money. So it was a clever move, a very good strategic move to tie together two things that are important to a lot of legislators and important to us, which is finally getting an SSA number set, even if it's inadequate, and investing new money in teacher salaries. So the process next week is the Senate will take it up either Monday or Tuesday, and it will go to the governor, and it will be signed. One of the things that we are asking folks to do is make sure your senators understand that one of the best components of this bill is that we preserve that continuity of special ed services, so that does not become true fee for service like educational services and media services do. And that's been one of our biggest arguing facts, is we need to have across the state for all districts the continuity of those services. Secondly, we're very pleased with the teacher compensation package, with that investment of that new money. We're not completely sure because the Department of Management has not yet released their figures as to how it impacts every district, but we know that that kind of investment was not going to happen in the Senate. So that's a really good step forward, and you need to remind your senators of that. And lastly, I think the most important thing is to let them know that 2.5%, while better than zero, is insufficient. Across the board, everything that you pay for has increased in cost, and 2.5% isn't going to help you cover those increased costs. So as we look forward to what we can expect in the coming weeks, as I said, the Senate will, in my view, pass the compromise version on the AEA reform, and that issue will be done. And having that put aside and completed clears the path for them to do budget targets and to figure out what they're going to do on income tax reductions, which gets us on a path toward the end of the legislative session, which is in statute. The 100 days is up on April 16th. That's when the legislators no longer get per diem payments for their work for the state. And there was going to be a lot of emphasis on trying to meet that deadline. So for a full summary of what is in the AEA agreement, check out our website, and we will look forward to talking to you next week.